Welcome back to another episode of Carlos's Marvelous Nerd Reviews. My name is Carlos, and thank you guys again for being here. Today we are looking at one of my favorite characters in the MCU, and one of my, honestly, probably top 5 Marvel Legends that I own, and that has to be Korg. I think in Marvel Legends form, it's great representation, and here's to hoping now that we have Thor, Love and Thunder coming out, we'll finally get a Korg Hot Toys figure. But for now, this is all we got, and while I do think it's really good, I think it could just be a little bit better. So let's go ahead and take a look at me customizing this figure. And if you're interested in any other Marvel Legends content, I strongly suggest you go follow the Facebook group, the Marvel Legends Collectors Group. I'll put a link in the description below. I definitely suggest you go follow them. It's a great group of guys and girls, and what's wrong with more Marvel Legends content? I mean, really, right? Well, with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start off by looking at Korg himself. I really like this Marvel Legend. I think he's fantastic. I think he is honestly the whole reason I got the 2-pack, but I do think the Grandmaster is still a good figure. But Korg is one of my favorite characters. The scene where he says that he killed Meek is hilarious. I love that scene. I can watch that scene over and over again, and I'm glad that we're gonna get more of this character. I was a little worried, like we didn't really see a whole lot of him after Thor Ragnarok. He really didn't play a big part in Infinity War, but he was in Endgame, which was cool, and I enjoy seeing him. So let's just take a look at the figure itself. You can see that it's pretty well sculpted, and that's why I really wanted to do this repaint, was because I do think it is well sculpted. You get a lot of detail, and to give it just a little bit of a dark wash is gonna help bring that out. I decided to go with like a blue wash first to kind of bring out those highlights, and then do just kind of a subtle dark wash after, just to make some other, just to give it a little more detail. But really, it's pretty good. I also decided I'm gonna paint all the little buttons that he has silver, just so it matches a little bit. So really, this figure is all about just adding those little bit of details. The first thing I did though was I took this figure apart. Be warned though, when you take the chest cavity apart from the torso, the pivot joint is extremely difficult to put back. But I think I struggled with this for about an hour and a half, just trying to put it back in, and I heated it up, and nothing. I could not get this figure back together, and I got super frustrated. But then I remembered a video where they kind of adjusted the insertion for the pivot joint, so then that you could have more articulation, add more of an ab crunch and extension to the back. So I ended up doing that. What you have to do, which I'll cover in another video, is you just cut kind of like a V or a U in the front and the back, and not super big either, because you don't want the top piece falling out, with an X-Acto knife. And so with that, I was able to actually get him a better ab crunch. Here you'll see me doing the blue wash first. If you want to do a blue wash, all you do is you just take your wash, you go over it, and then you take your paper towel and you just kind of dry it off. Try not to go too deep, that way you're just kind of getting the surface, and that way the blue will stay in the crevices, and I think that makes a big difference later on. I then started to paint the silver buttons because I have ADD and I couldn't just do the blue wash, so I did like 2 legs and the chest. And then I was like, okay, button time, just so I could break it up, because I do get a little bored. My attention's kind of all over the place. So as you can see, I'm still doing the blue wash. The blue wash ended up being a little darker than I expected, but I do think it ends up looking cool, especially once we take a dry brush to it at the end. One thing I feel like is important to keep in mind is that whenever you're doing a wash, you're not doing the entire figure. I mean, you can, but I don't really like it. I feel like you only need to go do a wash in kind of like the deeper cuts, like where you see the belt meet the buckle on his chest plate thing to hold his shoulder guard on. I will come into the deep crevices and add more wash in those areas just so they stand out just a little bit darker than everywhere else. And so I think that makes a difference, especially when you have like a more muscular character. Like I did a dark wash on a Hulk. It helps really bring out those extra details. But if you kind of go all over the entire thing with the wash, you lose a lot of that detail, because all you've really done is created another flat paint, because now it's just all one solid tone again. And I don't really like that. I've seen where people make those kind of customs, and I don't think it looks good, but to each their own. If you like that kind of look, go for it. Here you'll see I started adding the dark wash to the leather pieces, just to kind of help those pop a little bit. I realized that by doing this, it actually started taking off the silver paint, which was a little frustrating. So I had to go back and repaint those again, but it wasn't too bad. And I messed them up anyway once I was trying to put the pivot joint back into the chest torso. But here we are, the figure is done, and I think he looks fantastic because I was able to do that extra cut in the pivot joint. It really adds to the articulation, giving him more ab crunch and more extension. I think he looks good. I did a little bit of whitewash, a dry brush with some white paint as well, just to help give him a little bit of highlights. And I really think it paid off. I'm just starting getting into customizing my figures, and honestly, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy trying to make these figures better. As you can see, here we go. Look, you can see that he has a little bit more extension. We can get a really dynamic pose right here, like he's gonna jump and club somebody. I added a little bit of a dark wash to his club, but that's about it. I didn't really want to go back and paint it. I may still go back and paint it another day, but today I think I'm done with this. He looks fantastic. Let's just zoom out a little bit and let's get it to focus. There he is. I personally think he came out really well. Oh yeah, it really helped the wash kind of really bring out some of those details. And right here you'll be able to see a comparison from the beginning to the end. And yeah, there's a huge difference. I think he looks a lot better. I really like this. I feel like it gives it more of an MCU vibe than how he originally was. Not that the figure's bad, because clearly he's in my collection. I love this figure. But I do think this helps take that figure to the next level. And I think this is what it's all about. You know, I think Hasbro has done a fantastic job giving us fantastic representation. And now with the new Love and Thunder movie, we are getting the Build-A-Figure for that wave, which I'm excited for. So this was kind of my first try at customizing Korg, because I really want to I have an idea of what I want to do with that new Korg figure. If you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to leave a comment down below, and please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and thank you guys for being here as always. Hope you have a wonderful day. See you later. Peace.